Dan.
Hey, John.
So we're back again,
Yeah.
and we're going to be talking about how we believe agencies should work with their clients, which I think is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
We tend to talk lots about tactical execution and tips for improving your paid media campaigns, but we never really talk about the relationship side of things, which is key to making everything work.
Yeah, it's vital. It's kind of, that's the foundation everything's built on for the success of like the campaign, longevity. So yeah, really looking forward to diving into how we approach it.
Diving in. So we've got, I guess, a bit of context and background. We've got a number of clients going into their fourth year with us, which is amazing. We've had quite a few clients that last that kind of time, which for a performance marketing agency is good. What is it about those relationships and those client accounts, beyond the performance, which obviously has to be great, but what is it about those relationships and those clients that tend to make them last that long?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. I think one of the first things, I think that first stage of like the onboarding and that sort of, when we're going through the process of the pitches and kind of having the conversations around potentially working with them, I think it's understanding, are we the right fit for them? But also, are they the right fit for us? Because it's the two-way relationships are normally the best.
Yes, definitely.
Ones. So it's kind of understanding that, and we can gauge that through conversations, questions we have with them, like through the pitch process, kind of how engaged they are with us as well, and kind of understanding what their needs are. Say everything goes great, sign on with us, they want to work with us, that's great. I think it's then that onboarding process which really is vital to getting everything right from the off.
Definitely.
No unanswered questions, no ambiguity on anything. Everyone knows what the goals are, what the objectives are, who everyone is, everyone's met. And I think that's the first bit where we have to get that right before we dive into the other bits in a second of
completely. I mean, it's the opportunity to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yeah.
Expectations are set correctly on both sides.
Yeah.
Everyone knows exactly what is going on, and that there's no disconnect between what's been sold and what's going to be delivered.
Yeah, exactly.
Which are, I guess, expectations and a mismatch between sales and actually what's going to happen. They're usually the areas where things go wrong.
Yeah.
And you're right, absolutely right. Within that onboarding stage, that's the opportunity that if there's any doubt in any of those areas, everyone's got a chance to be, okay, hang on a minute, what?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I was expecting. And if you can have those conversations up front and start on exactly the same page, you're at an advantage, aren't you?
The thing that makes everything work effectively is being aligned. If you're not aligned,
that's the word.
It just doesn't work. Like if you're pulling in different directions, if we're over here in a little bubble and actually as another objective the team didn't know of, that's like overall business growth or target account growth or something like that. If we don't have all the facts and vice versa, if we're not all agreed on it, that's where like that initial relationship could break down. And that's where I'd say 9 times out of 10, you could kind of lose the relationship and the client, like
right
kind
from
of
the
trust
off.
Right from the off. I always think that first 30, I mean, we'll go into this in a bit, but that first 30 days is really crucial, I think, to really building the like, these guys know what they're doing.
Yes.
That's what you want to get to. I trust them.
Yeah.
You can tell if a client doesn't trust you because they potentially get a little bit more needy. They're asking a lot more questions. You can pick up a vibe.
You can tell,
You can tell. So that's really key, and kind of, so we're always trying to check in at the end of that first 30 days, just been like, how's everything going? You know, is everything we agreed on kind of moving in the right direction? How's your relationship with the team? Like, there's so much from those conversations just to glean in the first 30 days, because if there is then an issue, or if there's loads of positives which you can feed back to the team, that's great. It's kind of just understanding where they're at, because it's quite an intense period, that first.
It is, isn't it?
There's so much going on.
And I think a lot of agencies miss the fact that if a client has made a decision to bring you on board, that's a risk. It's a risk on their performance, internal reputations. You know, there's a lot that a client is putting on board on the line when they bring you on board. And that, first off, that onboarding process, Secondly, you've mentioned it there, but the check-in after 30 days and checking to make sure that everything is still as expected and is the client getting everything they need? Because quite often you don't know what something's going to be like until you're doing it.
Exactly.
It's the same when you buy anything. If you bought a house, you never fully know what it's going to be like or what the niggles are going to be until you're in it.
So true.
And making sure that those are caught really early on, again, is just massively important, isn't it? And think about all the clients we've got, particularly the ones that have stood the test of time, right? And have got really, really solid relationships. They're the ones where it's not saying that everything we did in that onboarding stage carried through for 4 years and nothing changed, because that's not life, is it? But there's always something after that first month or two that, if that's also a priority, then we need to accommodate it. Or, so having that process in place it's been really good for us, hasn't it?
And it's not just like we said, clients, it's not just that 30 days and then you just, we've had to check in now, just get on with it.
That's it.
Like we will constantly be checking in with the key contacts with the client, because like you said, things change, like understanding where they're being pulled at internally as well. You don't know what someone's targets might be for the year, or, what their manager's asking from them. And so you need to find all that information out, which sometimes isn't put in like the simple onboarding survey you give someone where we ask them, what's the goals for this? Who's our main contacts? What's your budget? They're the surface level elements to get the planning stage going. But above that, it's like, what's going to make this person be like proud of what we're doing and respect what we're doing, and also feel like we're all pulling in the same direction, and we're just we're not an extension of the team, we are part of the team. That's how we want to work with people. Yeah, exactly.
And you've alluded to the fact that earlier on that it is a relationship. It's a two-way thing. And good relationships in any sense or walk of life are based on trust. You mentioned the word trust. And also there is I think an undervalued element to choosing an agency, or an agency deciding which clients they want to work with. Chemistry. And just purely, are we a good fit? And there's a process that you can put behind that, of course, in terms of sales qualification and making sure you get that kind of pre-sales process right. But there is an element of chemistry that is important at the beginning, isn't there? And trust is just so important. And it's not a personal, I trust you. It's trust is built over time, isn't it? And not broken.
Exactly. And it's also like having the kind of comfortable nature to be able to give us feedback that might be not the nicest, and for us as well, if we're like, we've identified something that we just need to talk about, which might not be a negative, but might just be something that we just need to address to improve performance, for example. Being able to be like, you can tell me as it is, and I'm not going to think you're being rude, because it can come across sometimes if you get too direct with some clients. You've got to understand the person you're talking to as well. But there's plenty there we can build on over time, like you said, with the relationship.
Which is
key. And I think there's other parts which we're going into in a second, but that's the foundation. Whereas if we don't get those core elements right, I think the whole thing crumbles down.
But if you look at the relationship traits or character traits of our longest serving clients, right? They are the clients and the accounts and the people where that relationship is, A, there's a great degree of trust. B, the relationship is established enough so that they can really challenge us and we can really challenge them. So, which is so important in this world, because if a client is suggesting something that we believe is going to have a negative impact on performance, we have to be able to flag that. And vice versa, if we're doing something that's maybe not quite in line with the brand or whatever it is, they have to be able to challenge that. So I think that's a big part of our sales process, isn't it, in terms of finding that fit. Can we challenge them? Can they challenge us? will this relationship develop into an area where that's a thing?
Mm-hmm. And
so important.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's the feel of the chemistry, but also like it's like when you're like dating someone, right? It's kind of, I mean, that was many moons ago for me now, but it's like your gut feel on things as well is so important, and like the vibe.
Gut is an underrated thing.
Your gut's a powerful tool.
Yeah.
So I think it's sometimes you just have to like go with that your best instincts, but kind of, and like you said, you see it as it goes. But yeah, I think it's vitally important that you can challenge each other, whether that's good or bad, and just question things, and that fosters better relationships, fosters better ideas, fosters greater results.
Yeah.
But you have to build to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think in terms of that good fit element, it's, you know, when you're in a sales meeting or a pitch and everyone leaves going, I really want to work with them.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'd love to. And it's
that moment.
It's a genuine, that's not just a business thing. Like there are often these genuine moments, aren't there, where it's like, oh man, I really hope we get that.
Yeah. That's the moment where you know it's right.
Yes.
It's just a nice feeling. It's like, and you can see it, everyone in the room thinks the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I think there's other things that obviously come into the process as well. The clients we've had for 3 or 4 years, obviously we had this onboarding process, the new business qualification.
Yep.
I think it's then also what you're doing like in that day to day, and also building that relationship over time that's so vital. So there's a few things we pride ourselves on, I think, which we can go into. So I think the first is like just being responsive. I think that's seems so simple, but feedback we've had in the past is like, we don't hear from people for a couple of days or a week. And it's kind of, we pride ourselves on trying to respond within 24 hours, and normally it'd be quicker than that. But we kind of set our stall out quite early on, where we say 24 hours to respond, normally 48 hours notice to implement anything that's been sent over, whether it's a new campaign plan or anything that needs to be done. We normally set our stall out.
But do our best to accommodate
changes. You know, if there's an urgent request, like we can do that. But like from a overall perspective, if you can kind of lay your eggs out in a row straight away, again, that builds these guys, this is when I expect things.
Yeah, and also they're there for me.
Yeah, they're there
that
for
feeling
me.
Of, a client. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, is so important, particularly when you do genuinely care. Yeah. And I think emails going unanswered, all of that type of stuff is just, it's poor.
Yeah. Even like if it's
poor form.
Okay, I can't think of the answer, I haven't got the response right now, but even if all it takes is just to go back and be like,
confirming receipt.
I've got, thanks for sending this over. I'll catch up with the team on it and get back to you, and set a time you'll get back to them. Because then they're okay, I know when you're getting back to me, I can let you get on with it. And they're not panicking, wondering are they going to get back to me. You don't even know what their deadline is at that point. So someone might be in their ear, asking them the same question. So it's kind of, you kind of again need to find things out and communicate, and that's why it's so important. And I think off the back of that is then the two things that come into it. Like, one is you're having this dialogue, you're going to get back to them in time, but also what are you doing? Are you being proactive? So I think we pride ourselves on not just letting the client tell us what to do, or we'll do something and then just set and forget, is what a lot of people say, don't they? It's, you know, we always want to be proactive, challenge the client, present ideas, testing plans. There's always something going on where I hate if we ever get a question where it's like, oh, so what are we doing? Like, what's the next, what we're going next?
It should never need to be asked.
It should never need to be asked. Like, occasionally it might do, because when clients are really engaged, they're like, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And that's really cool. But I would hate to always be asked, like, okay, now what are we doing? Okay, that's finished. Now what are we doing?
Being chased for stuff.
Being chased for stuff.
Never happen.
Yeah. So it's kind of that proactiveness, I think, goes a long way in building that relationship as well, because you can kind of be left to get on with it over time.
Yeah. And I don't think you can ever forget why a client or a brand needs to work with an agency in the first place. It's because, well, it could be for a number of reasons, couldn't it? But, you know, it's usually because they don't have the expertise or experience in-house or the resource within which to do that task or job. So if if you're working with an agency and all they're doing is following your instructions,
your pen pushers.
Yeah, you're just buying resource, which is not what we want to be offering, right? We should be leading the conversations. We should be driving stuff forwards. We should be the ones saying, here's what you need to do, this. Here's what we're going to test, that. And that's not just following a list of scope items. Of course, there's a scope, of course, but it's about the agency driving things forwards and not just doing what a client
wants
asks.
Us to do. Yeah.
Not
not to say that we wouldn't do that.
If a client asks us something, we would of course help them out. But the bigger picture aspect of that is like agencies should be driving things forwards, not just.
We should be driving the strategy, not being driven. And it also comes back to your point earlier when you were saying, we should, if we don't think something's going to work, and that might be just being told what to do. If we just sat there and went, okay, we'll go off and do it, and then the results are crap, that's on us.
Exactly.
Even if we've not come up with the idea, we can't go back to the client and go,
well, it was your
you
idea.
told me to do it.
Yeah. It's like you guys are the experts and should have spotted it.
Again, that's where it's like, okay, does this fit with our plan? But also does it fit with your overall objective? So it's that, again, it's the communication thing. But the proactiveness comes into that. And then that's the trust of like, okay, these guys' ideas, they know what they're doing.
Yep.
It takes time to build that relationship up, but showing the proactiveness, I think, goes a long way, and seeing like the value they're getting from you, I think that's the key. Yeah,
definitely. We have to touch on performance. I know we're talking about the relationship aspect, but performance is obviously so important, and performance doesn't just happen, doesn't it? It's we put a lot into training, development plans. It's just such a massively, well, first off, I think it's a really big responsibility when you're employing people to make sure that they have a plan for moving forwards. That's number one. Number two is that makes us better at serving our clients. So talk a little bit about that, because it's, again, good performance isn't a happy accident, is it?
So I think obviously first of all comes from like the people we have internally, and how we train them up. So everyone's got a personal development budget, which is I think really useful for them to. We've got a training program which we roll out to them, but if they've got a specific thing they want to learn about that will help the client long term, they've got that there available to them. So we've got quite a vigorous staff onboarding process as well as a client onboarding process to get them up to speed, and then they're then equipped with the tools to be able to drive the strategy forward for our clients and build these development plans and testing plans over time for our clients. And these, if we look at the ones we've got for 3 or 4 years, that's not just, day one has never been, oh, look, it's working. It's, okay, that was good, but we can do better. We haven't hit the target yet. How can we evolve? So it's constantly just, again, putting a roadmap in place with the account team, working closely with the client to understand, okay, this is our goal. This is how we're going to get here. There may be a few bumps on the way, but we have to test these things to understand. And I think that's also such an important part, because if you don't say, look, some of these things will not work or they will fail, if you don't say that, and suddenly you have 2 weeks where it's like, oh, that was shit, or all at ROAS has dropped below 1, or the quality of leads isn't very good this week. If you're not having the conversation around it, it's just suddenly going to be, well, what are you doing this for?
It's a step in the road, isn't it?
So there's a methodical step-by-step process of testing things, especially in that first 3 to 6 months. So I think 6 months is like the ideal. You'll get onto some winners straight away, but you always want to improve. And I think it's just going through that process with the weekly check-ins with the client on the calls. Here's what we're doing. Here's what worked. Here's what didn't work. All of those things aid into performance long term, and then it naturally just flows. And then, of course, after 3 or 4 years, you have a very good playbook of what does work and what doesn't work.
But then something like iOS comes along and
something comes, and changes everything. But you still have this rough idea of what works. And you've got the processes in place on both sides of like, how do we review this? How do we do quarterly reviews? Like how are we doing all of this to make sure we improve and we're not standing still?
Yeah.
That's where the challenge from the client, I think, is always important in that process, because we can keep pushing ideas out.
Yeah.
But, you know, if they're not saying, yeah, but where does this fit in our long-term vision?
Yep.
We want to hit 1 million ARR this year. How's that going to get us there? Just building leads. It's kind of, you need an answer for everything.
Yes. Yeah, so, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I also think when things are going well, everything's easy.
Yeah.
When you've got an account that suddenly isn't going well, so maybe new competitors have come into the market, iOS has changed everything. Yeah. There are so many reasons why an account can suddenly turn for the worst.
Yeah.
It's in those moments where everything comes together, I think. So it's just a perfect intersection of where good process, a good relationship and trust is needed, good skill sets, you know, good training and development so everyone knows what they're doing. That's where everything counts. And if you look back at accounts that we've had, you know, maybe we've inherited them in term performance round, or, you know, a couple of the accounts that we've got that, you know, suffered a little bit more than others from iOS and then were turned around subsequently. If you look at the work ethic of getting those accounts back to where they should be, like that I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you have to just jump off the plan and test rapidly, rip the playbook up, all of that type of stuff. And that's, you know, work ethic I think is an important factor as well. And having people who are willing to jump on this stuff. But that's underpinned by all the process we've been talking about, trust.
Yeah.
Because you're going to suggest things in those moments that may sound crazy, but you have
to. We had that last year with and you know, one of the clients we have with the 3 or 4 years, we had that period in the summer last year where we had to really go back to let's just rip up everything we know. Let's just start again.
That's true.
For customer acquisition, like let's just test loads of things. Let's try a new channel. Yes, this did not work 2 years ago, but who's to say it doesn't work now? And we got to Q4 and bloody hell,
it was amazing.
Didn't that work well?
Yeah.
But that was 3 months or 4 months of some very shaky results at various points. But the conversations coming from it were like, look, there's these golden nuggets in here that we're coming into this peak period for you. You know, we're learning things. We've at a super fast rate. We've just got to stick with it. And the trust was there. The confidence, I think if you're confident about it and you can but like if you can come across like, look, this is our clear plan, and you get the client invested in it as well, all you can do is like suggest these things and try them to improve, right? And we're seeing the really positive results long term from that now. But if you didn't have that relationship beforehand, that could, you know, results have been shit for 2 months. They could have easily been like, let's start thinking about somebody else, right? But we were in constant dialogue of like, okay, are you happy? Like, are you happy to sacrifice a little bit now to gain later on? And just having constant catch-ups on it. If we just left it dark for 3 months,
it's the absolute opposite of sticking your head in the sand. Is the attitude that's needed.
It's putting your on the table. In a nice way.
Exactly. But I do think that when clients are selecting agencies, there should be some thought in the process of, okay, this agency that I'm considering working with, will they be there for us if it all starts to hit the fan a little bit? Are they going to be there? Are we going to trust that they are going to come up with a solid plan for turning stuff around if it's ever needed? Will they be on it? Will they care? I think that's such an important point to ask, because it's never just like that.
No.
Ever.
No business is
ever,
like that.
ever. You know, so And anyone can do a decent job of managing an account when everything's going up. It's easy.
Look at COVID. Certain businesses just flourished. You could do anything and they were working well. Like obviously you had an impact.
Yeah.
But it's easier in the good times.
It's when things suddenly take a turn that you need a partner that's proactive and you trust. And those things are also important in those points, I think. Cool.
And I'm just trying to think if we had anything else on our list. I think we've covered the.
I think we've done it. I just think it's such an important topic, and yes, performance is so important, but there are so many other factors that go into a good client-agency relationship that end up in brilliant performance over years and years and years. That are just more important than a ROAS case study.
Yeah. 100%. I just think the feedback I always get from conversations I have is that word aligned. Like the client just has to feel like you're with them on that journey 100%. Like you said, you're there, you've got their back. If you've got their back, they'll like die on their sword for you and you'll die on your sword for them. Yeah. Whereas, if you haven't got that and you're pulling in different directions or the client's asking you something which isn't what you want to do and you don't think it's right, that's where the breakdown can start. So be aligned, get on the same page, challenge each other positively.
And really, really give that onboarding stage, that first stage, as much focus as possible.
Exactly. It's not just here's the team, nice to meet you all. It's like understanding everything. Like one thing we got to mention earlier was we'll always try the product or the service the client offers. Yeah. So, take an e-commerce brand, what's the end-to-end experience for a customer? Yeah. So we want to know that because then we can apply that information back into the relationship. Like your add to cart's a bit like ropey. I got a pop up and I didn't know what to do. Yeah. That shows you're invested. Yeah. Like you said, whereas if you're just like, yep, cool, send it over and we'll work on a plan. Yeah. It's not the same, is it?
Yeah. There's just so much more to it. Yeah. And I think if an agency is viewing a relationship as a commoditized thing, or if the client is viewing the relationship as a commoditized thing, then you're missing so much. Yeah. Because there's so much more than that. Mm-hmm. If you do it right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, look, Dan, thank you so much. So that was we should do more. Well, we'll see what everyone thinks. Yeah. But I think we should probably do a few more on this type of topic because it's so important and critical to success.
And there's so many different pieces we can delve into in a lot more detail as well.
Definitely. But thank you.
Cool. Cheers, John.
All right. And see everyone on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed that episode, please do come and subscribe. Join us for future episodes where we talk about the ins and outs of running paid media and driving improved conversions and revenue for your business. See you next time.